Welcome into A to Z Sports prime time on a Thursday night. I hope everybody's doing well here on the A to Z Sports digital streaming sports talk network. We have a lot to talk about because the Tennessee Titans just got everybody's getting their tax returns, or everybody should be starting to get their tax returns as we get closer to April and tax season. The Tennessee Titans just got their version of a tax return and money that they're going to be able to use for the 2021 salary cap. We'll go over the report that came out earlier tonight and how the Tennessee Titans should prioritize that kind of bailout money. John Robinson will have he has a pretty lengthy list of things to do this offseason. We talked to him about that on the radio the other day. But where should he now prioritize the finances given what he has available to him that he didn't, about 3 hours ago? It's a Thursday night. It's the last primetime show of the week, so we got this as a free site, the best thing that I saw on the internet today, or really across the course of a couple days, because I've seen a lot of good stuff. But we got some good content prepared for you, and we're excited to have you here to discuss it at large. Hell yeah, at 8 mil now, says Jared. Yeah, we'll talk about the details of that here in just a second. Jeremy says he got his tax return heading to the Caribbean in September. Congratulations to you. Puka says bailout. Well, bailing them out of a bag. Let me tell everybody to share the show, and then you guys can start peppering me with the questions. It's all good. Before we get rolling, before I start fielding your questions and explaining myself and the situation that the Titans now find themselves in, you got to share this show. If you view with us on Periscope, retweet it. It's in the bottom right-hand corner of your screen. If you view with us on Facebook Live, it's in the bottom left-hand corner of your screen, and it's the share button. You can share now to public. I see Cody, Jeff, Ronnie, so many good people, Lewis Chesney, Adam Lehman on Facebook. If you're viewing with us there, share now to public. That's how you get your Facebook friends involved. YouTube and Twitch, we're live there as well. Let your friends know that A to Z Sports Prime Time is off and rolling here on a Thursday night. And so let's officially get off and rolling. Welcome into A to Z Sports Prime Time on a Thursday from the DraftKings Sportsbook Studios. I'm your host, Buck Rising, and I am proud, as always, to be presented to you by Two Rivers Ford. They are, without question, the people that you should trust, the people that you have trusted in Middle Tennessee for nearly 40 years, providing you exceptional customer service and exceptional Ford vehicles out there in Mount Juliet or online at tworiversford.com. There are all great manner of bet games to be bet on in the DraftKings Sportsbook app. And especially if you use the promo code A to Z Sports, you will have all manner of great bonuses provided to you. Go make some money. Let's get rich together. Plug in that promo code A to Z Sports in the DraftKings Sportsbook app. The Ashton Real Estate Group of RE/MAX Advantage at GaryAshton.com. They can help you find your dream address without the stress. I think Gary is at the Preds game tonight. They're currently losing 3-0, so not ideal. But he's the official real estate agent of the Tennessee Titans, the Nashville Predators, and A to Z Sports Prime Time for the reason. The best in the business at GaryAshton.com. Of course, Brymac Mechanical, BRYMAK, Brymac.com. That's where you go for satisfaction guaranteed on each and every one of your HVAC needs. They will hook you up the same way that they do all of their customers in Middle Tennessee and in Kentucky, because they cover a wide range of service at at Brymac Mechanical, BRYMAK, Brymac.com. So a lot of you guys are asking me questions about what the finances are, because it says bailout money, and Puka had the question about what is it, 3-1. Okay, so the Preds are on the board. You'll love to see it. So the bailout, it's not really a bailout, right? It's not like they're getting, it's not like they've lobbied the federal government and said, hey, we're going to fail if we don't get this money, like so many other industries have done across the United States. That's something it's a different matter. And we could talk about that. Maybe we'll save it for the politics podcast, right? I would say to you that it is bailing them out to a degree, though, because they've just gotten so much financial relief from this report that came out from Field Yates today. Your Two Rivers Ford take, though, here on Facebook Live. Actually, let me tell you the report, and then I'll ask you the question, because you got to hear what's going on before you can be asked a question having to do with the numbers. So, according to Field Yates at ESPN, the NFL about 3 hours ago has finalized its club adjustments / carryover for the 2021 league year. The amount for each team is added to the league-wide salary cap and serves as each team's adjusted cap number. Ergo, if the cap is set at 180, which we know, I add parenthetically, is going to be the minimum salary cap that teams have available to them, the Browns will have a league-high adjusted cap of $209,409,691. So you don't care about the Browns. You care about the Tennessee Titans, because the Tennessee Titans had about $1 million in change prior 4 hours ago, and then this report came out with the league's finalization of these things. The Titans now have $8.04 million to play with, a boost of over $7 million with which to make sure that they can either secure one of their pending free agents, probably two, if they do the deals correctly and structure them efficiently. You have the ability now to have financial flexibility to pursue other free agents, to spend that money on it. If you feel the need to tag a player like Jonnu Smith or Corey Davis, two players who have been discussed largely for either a franchise or a transition tag, you can do that as well. You now have breathing room, substantial breathing room, in a way that makes your life a hell of a lot easier than it was not 4 hours ago. The Two Rivers Ford take, the question that we're asking you here on a Thursday night on A to Z Sports Prime Time from the DraftKings Sportsbook Studios: what players should the Titans prioritize with the extra $7 million they just got? What players should the Titans prioritize with this extra cash flow, their tax returns that have just come back in time for the 2021 salary cap, for the to be applied to the 2021 salary cap in a league rollover type situation? You guys let me know in the comments on Facebook Live, Periscope, YouTube, and Twitch TV. We are live streaming all of those places, of course. And I will answer and take your comments momentarily. I'll give you my opinion. And in fact, you'll hear from John Robinson momentarily from the last time he did a Zoom call with us. Your Two Rivers Ford take here on a Thursday night. Whom would you prioritize of the Titans current pending free agents? While you guys fill in with your responses, I will fill in with the place that you should be trusting with your car buying business, your car search business. Just give them a shot. They'll show you why Two Rivers Ford is the place that you go. They will show you why it is all about the customer at Two Rivers Ford. They will show you that it's not just about exceptional customer service, although that is a big part of it with the non-commissioned sales staff. It's about incredible vehicles that are designed to serve whatever purpose you have in your life. They have a wide variety. They are multifaceted. They are high performance vehicles at Two Rivers Ford out in Mount Juliet. Go take a test drive if you want. Drive one off the lot if you so choose. In fact, I will be out there Monday to tell you more about what they have going on in Mount Juliet. Or you can go through the whole car purchasing process, is how you say that, online at tworiversford.com here on A to Z Sports Prime Time from the DraftKings Sportsbook Studios. What's up, Buck? Says Titans fan 93. Always love hearing your input and watching your streams, brother. Tighten up. We appreciate the kind words. Trevor, thank you. I appreciate that as well. Buck. We need defensive cornerbacks, bad, and need them now, says Timothy Ford. Well, I wouldn't prioritize corner. I mean, think about it. Tim or Timothy, however you would prefer, I refer to you. Timothy is saying cornerbacks. I mean, the only way that I would explore a cornerback situation, not with the new money that they just found, but with draft capital, because you're paying $54 million, the most in the league by a mile, to your secondary, to Adoree Jackson, Malcolm Butler, Kenny Vaccaro, Kevin Byard, Christian Fulton factors into that, and Amani Hooker, I suppose, and all of them really to a much lesser degree. But the big money players right now, and a lot of them are making double-digit figures. I think Kenny is the cheapest at this point, just over $6 million. I think, actually, no, not just over $6 million. I think he's closer to $7 million. Anyway, you get the point. You're spending a lot of money on defensive backs. I don't think you need to spend more money on defensive backs. In fact, I'm telling you, you don't need to spend more money on defensive backs. You're literally spending the most in the league. John Bertotti says extra cap money. Hell yeah, John. Let's go. Just re-sign everyone, says Robert L. Redmond. With $8 million, you better listen. Ben Marino, their salary cap wizard, is very, very strong and very, very good at his job. But he would have to be like literally a financial miracle worker to be able to spread $8 million across 20 unrestricted free agents. That's not how it works. Kevin Tubb says he strives to have a beard like me. Well, you listen, I don't do free ads around here. I don't do free endorsements around here, but I will endorse the holy hell out of my barber, because DeMarcus Drumright out there in Mount Juliet, he's actually right by Two Rivers Ford. It's why I don't spend a lot of time in Mount Juliet, but I do go out to Mount Juliet quite frequently because, in fact, Will Compton recommended DeMarcus to me, and your boy fades me up so well, makes sure my beard looks tight, looks well kept. And, I've got good facial hair because I'm Egyptian, and that's what we do. We grow hair and we get great tans. And that's basically it. Here on A to Z Sports Prime Time. Who would you prioritize here on the Prime Time show? I grind for mine, says Buck. You definitely Andy Luck. He says Andrew Luck's twin. Yes, I'm well aware of the doppelganger situation that me and young Luck have. Vaccaro needs to be cut, says Jared. Christian Fulton will be fine, according to Robert 22 Football. Sign Corey, to be honest, says Connor Sally. Well, we asked John about, how he would go about prioritizing the situation between what he has, because he has a lot of guys getting ready to be out from under their contracts. There's going to be a lot of guys available to him to pull from, given what the next week and what, the last couple of weeks have looked like already, and what the next week will really, really kind of bring to fruition. John Robinson spoke to us recently, about 2 weeks ago, on a Zoom call with Titans Media. This is what J-Rob had to say.
That's going to kind of come in waves. I think you've got the guys that are, whose contracts are expiring or they're set to expire already, and then you have the guys that are going to be released. We've seen that over the last couple of days with some veteran guys that have hit the market. So you're going to have to be strategic and try to gather as much information. I talked earlier about some of the models. We've tried to predict maybe some players that might become available. You don't really know for sure, but you're trying to kind of strategize of when to pull the trigger and when to be patient when it comes to acquiring and adding those guys.
So that was Titans general manager John Robinson kind of speaking to what the strategy is going to be over the next weeks and coming days and weeks as we get closer and closer to the start of the new league year. On March the 15th is when NFL free agency will officially open. In fact, it's either the 15th or the 17th. I know I literally just wrote this for an article at azsportsnashville.com, and I can't remember. I'm pretty sure it's the 15th. But somebody might fact check me on that. Producer Reed, if you would be so kind, text me when free agency and the new league year officially begin. That would be helpful. If Tennessee doesn't re-sign him, I see Jonnu going to the Falcons to join Arthur Smith down here, says Ronnie Sneed. So here, by the way, I actually just recently put in a request to the Falcons to see if I can't have Arthur Smith on either the podcast or the radio show so you can hear from him for the first time in a while, because we haven't talked to Art since the season ended. And not even since the season ended, since like the Thursday before the season ended, the playoff game against the Ravens. And since then we haven't seen Art. So maybe I'll have I'll keep you updated on that. I don't bank on it happening, because rarely do other, when coaches go to other markets, like you didn't see Vrabel doing local radio in Houston after he became the Titans head coach. It doesn't benefit the teams that they're now working for to make them available like that. It just creates headlines, and more often than not, some of them are negative, right? So I'll keep you updated on that. But I do understand why you think that way. Frankly, the Falcons haven't needed tight end. Producer Reed has texted me March 17th. So the legal tampering opens on the 15th. March 17th, free agency officially begins. Let's see. Thank you, guys. I appreciate you chiming in there as well. Now, Falcons are going to draft Pitts. Kyle Pitts is going to be going pretty high. And I don't know where the Falcons are picking off the top of my head. But I do know that a lot of people like Kyle Pitts. I love Kyle Pitts. Kyle Pitts is probably the third best player in this draft. New TV deal could make more too, hopefully, says Jared. We'll see. I mean, it's going to get down to the wire, and maybe that's put some pressure on the NFL and the TV networks to get the new deal done, because that could be huge to kind of rent. I mean, it's not going to. I don't know that it's going to make up $15 million per team, but it could, because these NFL contracts are going to be massive. J-Rob got to lay off the hot chicken, says Cody. Man, don't be picking on J-Rob like that. That ain't right. This man. it's a tough gig. It's hard to eat healthy when you're trying to build a Super Bowl contender. And not that I don't know that John eats healthy or doesn't eat healthy. He is well aware of the maybe, we've all put on a few. I've certainly put on a few pounds during quarantine, but John makes jokes at his own expense when we used to, be able to interact a little bit socially distanced, of course, at Titans practice. They're fourth, says Titans for life. Thank you. I appreciate that. So they could get a shot at Pitts. Thursday night football is going to be painful if Amazon Prime takes over, says Steven. I don't know. I think it's just habits are changing. 4-1 Florida over Nashville currently. God bless, the Preds suck. But who would you prioritize based on what you just heard from John Robinson? Which players would you prioritize specifically? I happen to have a little bit of a lead, and I've kind of kept you guys in the loop on this, that I'll inform you about a little more momentarily on who they're prioritizing on extending, because they have already started to talk to some of their pending free agents. Again, they have 20 of them, so they have plenty of conversations to have. We will talk about who they are getting closest with here in just a second, right after I remind you about Brymac Mechanical. It was hot today in Nashville. 70 was sunny. I tweeted out it's beautiful day drinking weather today in Middle Tennessee. After I got done with the radio show, I walked out into the sun. It felt so good to feel the sun on my face, the sun on my skin. It feels like it's been so long. I mean, yesterday was beautiful too, of course. But anyway, long story short, I had to turn on my AC today because it's hot as hell in the house. The sun is shining in. I have a bunch of windows in my home, and I had to turn on my AC. So I flipped it over real quick, real easy. And because I get preventative maintenance from Brymac Mechanical on my HVAC units, there was no issue whatsoever. You do not need to wait until one of your HVAC units break down to call Brymac. But if you do, they will make sure that they provide you satisfaction guaranteed and get you in your comfort zone so that you don't have to experience any discomfort because of the temperature in your house. Brymac Mechanical, BRYMAK, Brymac.com. They'll hook you up. I hope we go edge in the first round, says Jeff Roberts. Right now we're talking about free agency, but there will be time to talk about the draft. By the way, on the radio show tomorrow, 10-1 on 104.5 The Zone, we're having Emery Hunt, who works for CBS Sports, who does exceptional draft prospect breakdown, and it's really the first time that I'll be able to dive into the draft with Emery, who kills it. And he is coming out. He's at 11:20 tomorrow on 104.5 The Zone. So be sure you tune in or subscribe, rate, review to the Buck Rising Show podcast on 104.5 The Zone, because we got that going too. We got all manner of platforms that we're pumping out here, baby. God bless the Predators suck. Put that on a t-shirt. Says home on it. Yeah, I know. Okay, now I can see the comments. How did we get to the $7 million our cap? What happened is I was at work all day. So Nick, I'll quickly brief you on that because we did talk about that at the top, and I can't. Long story short, there is carryover from the NFL starting to finalize and getting closer to finalizing their salary cap. They're starting to get more of the numbers in that allows them to have a little better understanding of where the money is coming from. So essentially teams, and this was distributed by on a team by team basis. It wasn't that everybody just got straight up $8 million. There was essentially a formula decided for each and every team based on 2021 rollover. And as Field Yates put it, I'll read the tweet exactly. The NFL has finalized its club adjustments carryover for the 2021 league. So this happens every year. So you're never as cap strapped as you look right when the season ends. It's always something to remember. Tagging Smith is $8 to $10 million 1-year deal, says Josh Sabota. Well, you can transition tag him and it can be more cost effective. Essentially, you can get him for a little under 8 and feel, it's about 8. So you would essentially be using that money to tag Jonnu or transition tag Jonnu to try and keep him under wraps. Now, I think we talked about this last night on primetime. I think that the situation with the tight end market is Jonnu's going to be hurt financially just because, one, his season kind of tailed off through no fault of his own. He was asked to do different things as the season wore on, and his injuries happened to the offensive line. But the production did tail off, and that's going to come up in contract negotiations, right? It's a dirty trick that teams pull, but these are the things that teams and players, agents haggle over. Secondarily, I would say to you that there, as like Kyle Rudolph and perhaps David Njoku and other veteran tight ends that are going to be out on the market and really a lot of different players at a lot of different positions who are going to be out on the market, vets who have bloated contracts that their teams have to offload because of the COVID restrictions on the cap. I would say to you that is going to water down the market for Jonnu. So I think he can still get close to 8. If you can get 8 annually, if you can get him on a multi-year extension and lower that cap figure down from 8 this season to give yourself a little more wiggle room and then pay it back on, in the second or third year of that deal, kind of like they did with Derrick Henry and Ryan Tannehill. And they've done that with a lot of their different players. Kenny Vaccaro made, half as much in the first year of his contract extension as he is right now. This is typically how John Robinson and Vin Marino, who construct these things, prioritize their free agents first, and namely Corey Davis, because that's the name that I was alluding to. They're getting closer and closer with Corey Davis. They're getting that's probably the one that's most likely to happen as we sit here on March the 4th. Now things could change. There's plenty of time for that to happen, but the financial flexibility, 1, of getting rid of Adam Humphries' contract, and 2, of getting this $7 million boon to their finances, the situation will bear out that Corey Davis is most likely to be the player that they end up extending. And so I think that's good. Again, nothing is signed. They are still in negotiations, but that's the one that they're closest on. So keep tabs on that, and I'll kind of update you as I get new information. If anything changes, we'll be sure to let you know here on the Primetime Show or on the radio show or wherever it is that we're doing it, because we're going to talk about it across all different platforms. Good stuff here on A to Z Sports Primetime. They should prioritize their free agents first. Don't get caught up in trying to, and listen, they don't need to prioritize too many of them. I really think it comes down to Jonnu and Corey, and that's about it. I mean, yeah, you're gonna have some of these depth guys like Nick DeZubnar, who's a special teams linebacker. Will Compton is another one of these kind of players, but you can find a lot of these guys like that, through the draft in the later rounds, or undrafted rookie free agents, or less expensive guys who are a little less long in the tooth than DeZubnar and Compton. Although I thought DeZubnar was good special teams, but you know the kind of players that I'm talking about. So what I'll say to you is that Corey and Jonnu are really are the only ones that matter substantially to the long-term success of your football team. And internally, they recognize that as well. I really do believe that you're going to see them wipe the defensive slate largely clean, given how much of the just given how bad the defense was, and now they have the opportunity to reset naturally. What do y'all think about Van Noy? Says Chris Truckman. Listen, I think that off-ball linebackers are a big need. I really do. I think it's not as important as a pass rusher. But I would get Jayon Brown the hell out of here faster than anything if I could get Kyle Van Noy. The inside linebackers for the Titans, and Jayon got a little better, but then his ankle spontaneously combusted against the Ravens, or not his ankle, his elbow. And Rashaan Evans and David Long they looked like they didn't know where to be within the defense. Kyle Van Noy is not that. Kyle Van Noy would not last in New England if he was that kind of player, and he would not last under Brian Flores. And he didn't get cut because of production. He got cut because he hasn't been cut yet, by the way. They're trying to trade him, and they're not. I would be shocked if they're able to trade him. But at this point, it's kind of like an Isaiah Wilson thing. They're just desperately holding on to see if they can't squeeze something out of this deal. But the market is not in a place where that would be possible. I would so sell out for Kyle Van Noy and a mid-level pass rusher in free agency to help correct a lot of the issues that you're having on defense. Wouldn't be mad if they traded back and stockpile defensive picks, says Jared M88. We can talk a lot about the draft. In fact, we're going to talk a lot about the draft tomorrow on the radio show as well. Austin Stanley from A to Z Sports in the Morning is going to be a guest, and we're going to embrace debate, because Zach's out of town and Austin needs somebody to yell at. So we'll do that at 11:03 tomorrow on the radio show. In my opinion, we need to look at King, Jonnu, and Firkser. Firkser's a restricted free agent. All you got to do is match him. You have rights control largely over Firkser. Desmond King, let him go. There was nothing there last year that overwhelmed me as Desmond King. He helped because the defense was wretched, and he helped make it less wretched. But Desmond King didn't show me anything on the field last year that really, that would warrant to pay. I mean, he's just not the same player that when he made the Pro Bowl, I think in either 2017 or 2018 with the Chargers. That's why he was riding the Chargers bench. Like he's not as good as he was. So, and also you drafted Christian Fulton to be what Desmond King is for you now. Why would you draft it? Why would you keep him if you can get out from under the contract cleanly and keep the player who you have rookie contract control over? Desmond King makes, honestly, I think Daquan Jones is the least likely of the defensive players to come back. I think Desmond King is second to Daquan Jones as the least likely to return to the Tennessee Titans. But your opinion is well noted here on the Primetime Show. We'll hope he signs a bigger deal elsewhere and we'll get us a comp pick. But remember, you don't get the comp pick this year. You get the comp pick the following year. That is how the formula for the comp picks work. Healthy Adoree, Butler, and Fulton are good, says Billy Goat. Well, you'll see Butler making a lot of money. And so it's not just about the health of Malcolm Butler this year. It really is about the finances of Malcolm Butler. And right now the finances are tough on that situation. So prioritize your free agents first. But now you can look as you get more and more of a solid understanding or a solid foundation of what the salary cap is going to look like. And once you have a better grasp on your negotiations with your pending unrestricted free agents, now you can look at restructures. And I wrote about this because John Robinson told me on the radio show on Wednesday on 104.5 The Zone that they have not approached anybody about restructures yet. They're first prioritizing their free agents. But if John was to approach, because he again, and I wrote about this tonight for the website, A2ZSportsNashville.com. You can go read it. I go into pretty decent detail on everything that John and I talked about. I would say to you that the situation is not off the table for Titans players currently under contract for them to explore restructures. Now, he hasn't approached any of them yet, but the question for you here on the Primetime Show is whom would you approach to talk to if you were John Robinson about restructuring their contract to try and create some more cap space and keep your guys under contract? Let me know on Facebook Live, Periscope, YouTube, and Twitch TV. We will discuss at length together which Titans players should Titans GM John Robinson try to restructure. Let me know on Facebook Live, Periscope, YouTube, and Twitch. We will talk about it together. We will talk about it at length right after I let you know about the fine folks at DraftKings Sportsbook. Go download the DraftKings Sportsbook app right now. Go plug in the promo code A2Z Sports. You're literally costing yourself money if you don't do it. DraftKings Sportsbook, America's top-rated sportsbook app. I've told you about this deal that they've had running for the past couple of weeks. They have great deals coming on the UFC fights as well, so stay tuned for that. But in the meantime, DraftKings Sportsbook is making sure that as we get closer and closer to tournament time, SEC tournament on the horizon in the next week or so at Bridgestone Arena, that'll be a lot of fun. But as college basketball starts to ramp up, DraftKings Sportsbook, America's top-rated sportsbook app, is giving all new players the chance to cash $100. New customers can bet $1 on any team to hit a three-pointer in any basketball game this week. And if your team makes it rain, you cash $100. This slam dunk of an offer won't be around forever, so head to the App Store now, download the DraftKings Sportsbook, and get in on all of the action. Plug in the promo code A2Z Sports to get your shot to turn $1 into $100 when you bet on any team to hit a three-pointer in any basketball game this week. Promo code A2Z Sports for new customers to get a shot at 100-1 odds on any basketball team to hit a three-point shot only at DraftKings Sportsbook. Remember, you must be 21 or older. Tennessee only. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. New customers only. Restrictions do apply. Winnings paid out in $4 $25 free bets. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call or text the Tennessee Red Line, 1-800-889-9789 at DraftKings Sportsbook. Whom would you approach about a restructure if you were Titans GM John Robinson? Now, John told me on Wednesday that they haven't gone about that yet. Right now, they're prioritizing their guys first before, going around and asking guys to give them cash back that they will get in later years. What is known as the paragraph 5 money, the base salary. And that's just where things fall in. Like when you're going paragraph by paragraph in an NFL contract, paragraph 5 is where you talk about the base salary. So that's why John calls, or why NFL people refer to it as the paragraph 5 money. Whom would you restructure? Josh Sabota on Facebook says Lewan. Jeff Sawyer also on Facebook says Malcolm Butler. Chris Calhoun on Facebook says Byard. Restructure Tanny and Lewan, says Mbatsko. Well, Tannehill not happening. Neither is Derrick Henry. So those two are off the table. My free agent priorities, well, that's a different conversation, Dale. But so Dale prioritizes Corey Davis, Clowney, Jonnu, Jayon. Clowney and Jayon almost assuredly not happening. But, you to each his own. You're entitled to your opinion. I think that you are dead wrong on the Clowney thing. But again, I talked a lot about that today. There's no need to rehash all of my feelings about running the Clowney experiment back again. Ben Jones, Roger Saffold, and Malcolm Butler, says Ronnie Steve. What's Roger Saffold making next year? Let me look at that really quick. Roger Saffold is making, he'll have a $12.3 million cap hit. He could be a candidate. That would be a reasonable situation for a guard at 32 years old. Now, Roger Saffold was great last year, and this will be the third year of a 4-year deal. So, I mean, honestly, you could even talk about Roger Saffold has been pretty impressive. You could even talk about extending Roger Saffold and kind of making your life a little easier, much like Ben Jones, where you're talking about you could save over $6 million by straight out cutting Ben Jones. Or if you think that Ben Jones is playing at a high enough level that you can keep him around, you can create financial flexibility by extending them. Now, you're not going to do that with Lewan because Lewan's still on a massive contract. And he's got more years left on the deal than somebody like Saffold or Ben Jones do. Malcolm Butler makes a lot of sense for a great many reasons, especially the $14 million that he's set to make this year. That's a big problem. If you're somebody trying to create financial flexibility to go out and find a pass rusher, if you can't find a restructured deal, he's got to be a cap casualty. Like he just has to be, because you can't go into the season with that number. Butler and Lewan, according to Titans Kyle. Malcolm Butler, Kevin Byard. Yeah, I don't think Byard's. I don't think you can ask Byard to take a restructure 2 years in a row. I don't think he would agree to that. I wouldn't agree to that. Hell no, I wouldn't agree to that. 2 years in a row, you're going to ask me to take less money again? No. Especially coming off a bad year? No, I need to make as much money as I can because I don't know when you're going to cut my ass or try and trade me. Because that happens. Look at Jarrell Casey. I could not possibly foresee a situation where they get Kevin Byard to take a pay cut twice, even if they're backloading that deal. And as John said the other day, kicking the can down the road. Somebody said no restructures, just straight up cut people. And I lost that comment, but I don't want to spend too much time going back and looking for it. But that's an interesting concept. I mean, you could do that, but you don't want to totally shock the system. You have a good team. You have a good roster. You have a roster that is comfortable within itself. And so what I would say to you is that you don't want to straight up just cut guys to cut guys, because you're looking at them far more transactionally than could necessarily be quantified, right? Like I think Wesley Woodyard, Jarrell Casey, Logan Ryan, Delaney Walker, all not being around last year, I think that mattered. I think that mattered in a way more than just football. And it at the end of the day, it comes down to football. But it does make your life a little easier when you have guys like that to hold you together and to keep you on track while you're trying to figure out your shit, because that's not an easy thing to do. Butler at 14 is significantly better value than Saffold at 12, says OG Will Aiken. Cornerback 1 is more important than left guard. And I don't disagree with that, right? But cornerback 1 is not more important than left guard when cornerback 1 doesn't have a pass rush. So that's the first thing that's got to happen. And if you're telling me, is the corner going to get better with a pass rush, or can you make a corner better by getting a pass rush? Well, I guess that doesn't make any sense. What I'm saying is you can make other corners better than they might otherwise be by finding a pass rush, rather than banking on Malcolm Butler covering up a bad pass rush, because he was their top corner last year and he couldn't do it. They struggled mightily. We have it's well documented. the struggles with the Tennessee Titans on third down in the passing defense. Cut everyone on defense except Simmons, says David Tierback. Restructure defensive coach, says DJ Rick. Yeah, if only, right? They haven't found one yet. Why would they start now, says Aaron Pettis. Edge will help secondary tremendously, says Jared. Yeah, I know. Like Fulton, says Sawyer Kimbrough. Yeah, Christian Fulton Christian Fulton was probably going to replace Malcolm Butler on the outside at some point anyway. Now, I mean, listen, you're going to have to draft a corner regardless because somebody's going to end up on the outs, and Chris Jackson is not a long-term solution as a 7th-round pick. Ty Smith, I don't think, is back on the roster right now. I think he's one of their unrestricted free agents as well. You're going to have to draft a depth corner at some point this year and a depth safety because Vaccaro's probably not going to be around. Ronnie Sneed says, Ramon and Ronnie are talking amongst themselves. Who would you approach about a restructure? The player that I would approach about a restructure first and foremost is Malcolm Butler. Because it's just not feasible at $14 million this year. And I'm not disagreeing with what Will Aiken said. And you can see the comment there directly below me. I don't think that left guard is more important than starting corner. But I think that left guard at 12 and starting corner at 14, one of those things got to give. And Malcolm Butler is going to have to be the thing that gives in this particular situation. Let's wrap this show up. It's been a great week on Primetime. We've had a lot of fun both on the streaming show, on the 615 Sessions podcast that we did on Tuesday. Remember, 615 is only once a week now because of the new radio obligations. I'm trying to make sure that I keep everything on balance and as best a product as humanly possible. So the 615 will remain intact. It'll just come to you once a week on Tuesdays. They're in the A to Z Sports podcast feed. And we've had a great week of shows across the board, all 3 of the shows, because I got 3 shows now. A lot of stuff I got to juggle. But I'm having a lot of fun doing it, and I thank you guys so much for making this such a fun week for me. So let's wrap up the Primetime week, right? And let's get to the best thing that I saw on the internet this week. This is a free site. The question that I would like to pose to you as it relates to our free site video, because it involves Colin Cowherd and it involves Baker Mayfield and it involves UFOs. I don't know how many of you saw this story of Baker Mayfield tweeting out that he had seen an unidentified flying object, but of course Colin Cowherd has a hard-on for Baker Mayfield, and this had to make its way into Colin Cowherd's show. So what is the most ridiculous, I just hiccuped in the middle of trying to talk. What is Colin Cowherd's most ridiculous take? This is a free site, the best thing that I saw on the internet this week. In the comments on Facebook Live, Periscope, YouTube, and Twitch TV, what is the most ridiculous thing Colin Cowherd has said? Because this, I think, may take the cake. While you guys do that, I'll tell you about the Ashton Real Estate Group of RE/MAX Advantage at GaryAshton.com. Your dream address without the stress is what they offer you. Don't sell without the intel that the Ashton team can provide to you. And if you are selling, sell for more with the official real estate agent of the Titans, the Preds, and A to Z Sports Primetime at GaryAshton.com. The big homie, he's unfortunately having to suffer through the Preds. I think they're down 4-1 last I checked. I don't have the game on in the office right now, but you guys have been keeping me updated on the score. Jared says Colin is terrible. LeBron is better than Jordan, says John. Well, no, I agree with him there. His show, LOL, says Blake Stewart, says just in general, his show. Not aliens, says Aaron Pettis. UFO time, says Robert Deerfish. 4-3. Oh, look at the Preds. Hell yeah. Fire point, says Puka. I remember he had that anti-Aaron Rodgers campaign the season he won the Super Bowl. Yeah, Colin Cowherd is very talented. Colin Cowherd is very good at his job. Now that I have a solo radio show, I understand how hard Colin Cowherd works to make that radio show go. It's a not that I'm bragging on my ability to do it, but it's not an easy thing to do. Just like the streaming show, it's not an easy thing to do to just sit here and talk to yourself. I'm not talking to myself. I'm talking to you guys, but you know what I'm saying. Like I'm literally talking to myself largely. So I have an appreciation for Colin Cowherd's skill set. What I do not have an appreciation for is the stupid things that Colin Cowherd sometimes says, and he does them right and he does them well, and they get good publicity because they make shows like these. This is a free site. Colin Cowherd on Baker Mayfield's UFO sighting.
news in the AFC North is last night on Twitter, Baker Mayfield said he saw a UFO. He went out with his beautiful wife. I'm sure they had some margaritas. Austin, Texas is a fun town. And on Twitter, Baker Mayfield announced, I just saw a UFO diving down near Lake Travis. To that, I would say I would prefer, of all the qualities of franchise quarterbacks, I want to know your arm. Are you good pre-snap? Are you mobile? The ability to see UFOs in the offseason is nowhere near my not top 10 qualifications. Joe Montana, Troy Aikman, Terry Bradshaw, Tom Brady have never seen aliens. I would prefer my guys don't talk about it. But in fairness, Aaron Rodgers also admits he's seen a UFO and he did win a Super Bowl. So Baker Mayfield, I'll read it to you. Almost 100%. Em and I just saw a UFO drop straight out of the sky on our way home from dinner. We stopped and looked at each other and asked if either of us saw it. Very bright ball of light going straight down out of the sky towards beautiful Lake Travis. Beautiful place, by the way. Anybody else witnessed this? No, nobody else witnessed this. But you got the Steelers are bringing their quarterback back, and the Browns quarterback's coming back and just saw an alien. It will potentially, in both cases, skew my standings and predictions.
So Cowherd immediately turned, again, the video courtesy of Fox Sports and the Colin Cowherd show, or the Herd, I guess is what the radio show is called. Just the way that he turned it into Ben Roethlisberger isn't, I'm paraphrasing here, but Ben Roethlisberger isn't tweeting about seeing UFOs. He's preparing to win the AFC North. Lamar Jackson isn't tweeting about seeing UFOs. He's getting ready to go out and win the division and compete for Super Bowls. Who's the other? Joe Burrow is not focused on tweeting about UFOs. He's trying to rehab his torn ACL and prepare to try and elevate the Cincinnati Bengals. This is what Colin Cowherd does. It's the backwards hat guy argument all over again. Colin Cowherd says ridiculous things, and it does well for Colin Cowherd because we literally just, we just gave Colin Cowherd free pub because it's so outrageous. And so I give Colin credit for that, much like I give JJ Watt for that. There are a few people better than the two of them at self-promotion. But the way that you go about self-promoting, and I'm sure I've said ridiculous things in my life too. I think there is somewhere on the Twitterverse where I once advocated for Deion Lewis getting more snaps than Derrick Henry when, Derrick Henry was struggling. And at the time, honestly, I thought that was the right argument. But anyway, I digress. We all say dumb stuff. Colin Cowherd just turns it into, it makes it a little bit dumber. But people love it, and people like to argue, and Baker Mayfield is probably going to get all kinds of shit about it. This is a free site. The best thing that I saw on Twitter this week. Colin Cowherd just doing Colin Cowherd things. That's how it goes. Colin Cowherd always craps on Mayfield, says Ronnie Sneed. Lamonta says Buckby higher than an MF or not to, listen, drugs are illegal in the state of Tennessee, so I would not ever deign to do something like that. Two, I wouldn't do that on the show. Are you kidding me? Three, I always tell you at the end of the show that I'm not tired yet. Boys and girls, I am exhausted. I am so tired. But I'm still here to provide you great content. So if the circles under my eyes are a little darker this week, I hope you understand. I've had a big week. I slept about 4 hours last night. I have been providing you as much good content as humanly possible. But I am not at this point under the influence of drugs or alcohol. I should probably state for the record, just a little tired. That's all. Yeah, but you, and when you're wrong, or I admit when I'm wrong, says John. Indeed. Thank you. You said you weren't Andrew Luck's brother once, says Focus. That's true. I am not. I'm entirely too good looking to be, not that I'm saying that I'm entirely too good looking, but I am much better looking. I am much better looking than Andrew Luck is what I will say. Then you have to start playing a new ending video. But see, here's the thing, like the body is, the spirit is willing. The body is a little weaker. The eyes are a little darker, but the show is over. There's one more radio show to go. I'm probably going to write another article this week, but the rest is just smooth sailing. Damn sure I'm not tired yet. Now, my eyes would tell you otherwise. My eyes are a little tired. I would say to you that my body is a little tired, but the brain is still functioning at a high level. Puka says, looking 28. Puka, don't you disrespect me by aging me. Don't you do that to me. That is unacceptable. I will not take that, even though I'm probably aging more rapidly than I would like. I know I'm not tired yet, though, because I'm going to keep cranking out the content. We got 3 hours of radio tomorrow on 104.5 The Zone. I hope you hang out with us on the radio. We're going to have Mike Giardi from the NFL Network. We're going to have Emery Hunt from CBS Sports to talk draft. We're going to have Coach Mack on Friday in the 12:20 segment, and we are going to talk all manner of Tennessee Titans NFL draft, maybe a little college football too, because Emery and Mack know their stuff. We will do all of it with great effort. We will do all of it with great energy, and damn sure we will do it all over again on Sunday night, because I am not tired yet. Enjoy your weekend. If you hang out with us on the radio, I'll see you there tomorrow too. But for those of you for those of you who don't, you should. But if not, enjoy the rest of your evening. I'm going to go to bed after this, but I'm still feeling pretty good, even if my eyes would betray me otherwise, because I don't feel like I'm tired yet. No!